Joining me on the panel to talk about the subject in Islamabad, we have Ishtiaq Ahmad, a political analyst. In Washington, in Islamabad, Ishtiaq Ahmad, President-elect Obama early in his campaign spoke something to the effect of, excuse me, that in order for us to combat extremism, we need to win the hearts and minds of 1.3 billion Muslims. Now my question to you is, how do you think he will be trying to accomplish that mission? And does bombing wedding ceremonies and calling it collateral damage going to help him?
Well, I think the sort of unilateral militaristic approach that we have seen in the US foreign policy during the Bush administration, 2 terms of the Bush administration, it would be quite difficult for a democratic president to overcome all sorts of problems emanating from that approach. Obviously, winning the hearts and minds of 1.3 billion Muslims across the world is a very tedious task, especially given the kind of experience that the Muslim world has had at the American hands in the past 8 years or so. However, we must remember that the victory of Barack Obama in the US elections is in itself a revolutionary development. Obama, in my humble opinion, epitomizes the sort of frustrations and the discrimination that the developing countries or the Muslim world as part of the developing world has experienced. So I think the new American leadership we can expect and hope to strive hard to win the hearts and minds of the people across the world.
My cue from you, Helena, and addressing you, Ishtiaq Ahmad, do you think the approach of the US as of January when Obama becomes president is going to be based on diplomacy or militancy?
You see, the 2 parties in the United States represent 2 different orientations. The Democrats are liberal by nature. They pursue multilateralism. They take America out of war. On the other hand, the Republicans are known for unilateral approaches and pushing the US into wars across the world. So if you go by the overall orientation of the 2 parties, I think Obama will pursue multilateral course and favor diplomacy over exercising the military instrument. With regard to Afghanistan specifically, I would like to clarify a couple of points made earlier.
Sure.
First of all, the statements that Obama made with regard to Afghanistan and Pakistan, I think a couple of them were quoted out of context. Even while talking about attacking areas inside Pakistan, the tribal areas, you know, he had attached 2 big ifs. If Al-Qaeda leadership is there and the Pakistani authorities are not cooperating, only then the US will strike. And even otherwise, we should understand that, as you pointed out in your introduction to the program, that already 20 attacks, cross-border attacks have already taken place during the current administration. And secondly, we should also remember that this talk of troop surge in Afghanistan, which was favored both the contenders for the US presidency, I think it is natural. It was the expectation of Pakistan and of Afghanistan also that Iraq should not have been invaded, and this the entire US-led effort should have focused on Afghanistan. But post 2003, we saw a shift of emphasis from Afghanistan to Iraq.
We no longer have the pleasure of speaking to Habib Hakimi from Kabul by phone, but addressing you, Ishtiaq Ahmad, in Islamabad. Now, I think it was in April, somewhere in April 2007, when Hamid Karzai said something that addressing Taliban, the Taliban are always welcome, and they are the sons of this soil, and they belong here. Now, my question is, your prediction on the possibility of the Afghan, knowing that the present, let's say, Taliban are totally different from the one fought 10 years ago, would be integrated with a representative, democratically elected representative government in Afghanistan?
Well, just to build upon your question, actually in the beginning of July, Karzai made an offer to Mullah Omar, presuming that he was in Pakistan, to return to Afghanistan and be a contender in next year's presidential elections and contribute to peace and stability in Afghanistan, which was his own country. So this overtures from the current Afghan rulers to the Taliban leadership, it's an old story now. In the beginning of last year, actually, the lower house of Afghan parliament had voted for an amnesty for leading figures of the so-called insurgency in Afghanistan against NATO and Afghan forces. So the important point is that even as far as Afghan-Pakistan relationship is concerned, there are times when relations are very tense, and there are times when we see some kind of cooperation going on. And currently, ever since this President Zardari has taken over, in whose oath-taking ceremony President Karzai was the only foreign leader who participated in the ceremonies, I think relationship between the two countries has really normalized. And also, it is a fact that unlike the previous government of President Pervez Musharraf, this government, despite its democratic credentials, we were expecting that it would go practically for dialogue with Taliban and preferring diplomacy over military. But the kind of security operation that began in the month of May and has only continued to grow proves that this government also perceives the domestic security situation as very serious and wants to counter it first with the use of military instrument.
Now this war, the U.S.-led war, has been even, the longest war fought by the U.S. since Vietnam. Now how do you think the public opinion, the domestic American public opinion, is going to impinge on President-elect Obama's policies towards that country when he actually becomes the President of the United States?
You see, in the past few months, as everybody knows, that we are having a global financial crisis, which originated in the crisis in the US markets. And obviously, the American domestic public expectations from the new president-elect is to focus all the energies on solving the economic crisis at home, and obviously play a part, as America should, in overcoming this global dimension of this financial crisis. Given this new dimension in international politics, which has a purely economic side to it, troop surge or pursuing only the military course in conflict-ridden areas such as Afghanistan and Iraq, I think this will diminish over time. And even as I stated, that the obvious preference of a democratic youth leadership would be diplomacy, would be trade, and other initiatives which correspond to the spirit of globalization and regionalism across the world. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, even before Obama's accession to US presidency, this talk suddenly in the past few weeks, in fact ever since this secret parleys between the Afghan government and leaders of the insurgent movements took place or mediated by Saudi Arabia in Mecca in September, everybody has started to talk about this dialogue with Taliban. And even the new US strategy in Afghanistan under General Petraeus, who took over recently as the commander of CENTCOM, seems to be modeled upon the Iraqi experience, especially after the post-troop surge period over there, whereby local groups which had fought with the Americans.
Okay, Ishtiaq Ahmad, hopefully I'll get back to